All right, y'all know what time it is. We got another live. We're gonna be talking about um artificial intelligence, transhumanism. We're gonna be getting into some crazy stuff. So make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and make sure that you um thing. So I'm gonna give about 3 to 5 minutes to let people come in. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, comment down below. Make sure you sign up to the website. Please sign up to the website. And that way we can get more people. I'll come back in about the 4 or 5. All right, we have approached the 4 minute mark. So we're about to get into today's topic. And today is called the technological singularity. It means I'm going to elaborate thoroughly so that you guys understand what it means, its implication, and how we can prepare for it. So, what is the technological singularity? Now, I'm going to just give you guys a brief thing of what that looks like. But here is basically what the technological singularity is. Okay, so about to just give some quick things. I'm about to share my screen real quick. So this is the technological singularity, and then everybody can get in, everybody can chime in. But here it is. So what is this is pictures of the technological singularity. But what the technological singularity basically is the technological singularity is when technology advances so fast and it changes the world so rapidly that it becomes irreversible. So the very essence of what it means to be human and the very essence of how the world operates fundamentally changes and is irreversible. It's unable to go back. And happy birthday, Holla. Oh, congratulations. Happy birthday, my brother. Brother needs to get let me sing him happy birthday. I'm gonna sing him happy birthday real quick. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Holla. Happy birthday to you. Peace, brother. Enjoy your born day. Need to give me shout him some more birthday gifts. So to get back to our topic of talking to the technological singularity, this is gonna be a great birthday gift. He got a great birthday gift himself. He loves technology. So I'm about to give him an amazing birthday present. So the technological singularity is basically when technology is irreversible. It's when technology is able to rapidly accelerate. So what do I mean by accelerate? What do I mean by accelerate? The premise of artificial intelligence is to replicate itself. That's the basic premise of artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is able to replicate itself, able to upgrade its itself. And as technology becomes faster, the faster it's able to replicate itself, the faster it's able to upgrade itself. Right now, we have what's called artificial narrow intelligence. But like I said, this is the technological singularity, so people understand. It's basically when you go from human intellect and then it just soars. You see this the singularity, machine intelligence, then you have what's called transhumanism, which this is for those who do not know, this is what transhumanism basically is. Transhumanism is basically merging man with technology. So eventually there's going to come a time when humans are going to merge with technology. It is what it is. We're going to be looking like this. We just need to accept it. We're going to be looking like this. We're gonna be looking like this. We're gonna be looking like this. So we just need to accept that reality is just the evolution of man into the algorithm. That's what transhumanism basically is. So that's what we're dealing when we're talking about transhumanism. Um, that's basically what transhumanism is. If we want to basically talk about it. So when once you've reached that level of the technological singularity, you see it accelerates. And those who do not understand how smart artificial intelligence can become, for those who do not understand how fast technology can become, AI could be as much as 1 billion times smarter than human intellect. Let me say that again. AI can have up to 1 billion times more intellect than the average human being. That's just how smart an I can become. Okay. They even speculate that eventually humans will have to merge with technology to survive. Somebody else will come up on this and enjoy your birthday. Make sure you have a birthday dinner. Make sure you have a birthday dinner, brother Holla. Make sure you have a birthday dinner. But to continue on with it is AI. There's no maximum intellectual capacity. because like I said, AI is constantly replicating itself. So because it's constantly replicating itself, it's constantly updating itself, which means that it's able to compute more power. One of the reasons why the technological singularity is likely to occur is something called diminishing returns to scale or diminishing returns. So before I get into that, this is what we mean. You go from RNA to DNA to cells to human evolution to the brain and then digital and then biodigital fusion, which just shows the amount of power and capacity. And you see, it's just ever increasing. And the thing about AI is it's not a maximum. And it doesn't grow linearly. Artificial intelligence grows exponentially. It's an exponential growth, and it can grow for forever. It basically approaches infinity. That's why they have the general phrases artificial narrow intelligence, artificial general intelligence, and artificial superintelligence. But to get back to the point I was going to bring up with diminishing returns, what diminishing returns basically means when it comes to technology is that technology not only becomes cheaper, it's becoming smaller. Look at nanotechnology as an example of that. You're able to do stuff faster. You're able to do stuff faster, it's cheaper, and it's smaller. You notice how things are getting smaller. For those of you who are way older than me, born in the 80s, born in the 70s, born in the 60s, when y'all was growing up, computers used to be big. They used to be very big, and they took a lot of computing power. Sometimes computers would take up the whole room. I know y'all know what I'm talking about. Y'all remember those real well when you was in college or you was at university doing a job. Computers back in the day used to be take up the whole room. Nowadays, computers are the size of your cell phone or the laptop or a microchip. It's that small. And that is what diminishing returns is able to do. You're able to have stronger technology that's faster, but it's smaller, that can go nano. And let me just say with nanotechnology, for those who understand how small we can get. Nano is not the smallest we can get. We can go pico, we can go fermo, we can go even smaller than that in how much computing power we can do. And for those who do not know on a scale on nano is so small you can't see it with the eye. You would need literally a microscope or a computer to be able to see it. So we're talking about 1 to the minus 15 meters, 15 decimal places to the right. We're talking about like to the left, 15 to the left. We're talking about 0.0000000000015. We're talking about that small on the scale of how we can compute. That's why there's a whole thing called nano engineering or nanotechnology, because that whole field is how do we apply things on the nano level and sometimes even smaller to the pico and fermo level, because that's going to be important, because a lot of stuff that dictates the human body is at a microscopic level. Your DNA, your RNA, your proteins, your amino acids, all of this is at the micro, nano, pico, fermo level. So in order to address this stuff, we have to go into the smallest realms. Okay? So when we mean by technological singularity, I have a list of emerging technologies that we're going to be talking about here that I'm going to explain a little bit, elaborate a little too, and then I'm going to go into artificial narrow, artificial general, artificial superintelligence. So it's very long. I'm not gonna show the I might do the PowerPoint but it's really a lot to really delve in when we come into the new technologies. So when we talk about list of emerging technologies, I'm going to break down what we mean by emerging technologies. So what is emerging technologies? Emerging technologies, according to industrial technology, technological development, is the introduction of new tools and techniques for performing given tasks in production, distribution, and data processing. The mechanization of the production process or the achievement of a state of greater autonomy of technical production systems from human control, responsibility, or intervention. Changes in the nature and level of integration of technical production systems or enhanced interdependence. The development, utilization, and application of new scientific ideas, concepts, and information in production and other processes. Enhancement of technological performances, capabilities, or increases the efficiencies of tools, equipment, and techniques in performing given tasks. So emerging technologies, these industrial technologies, what we would call fourth industrial revolution technology, which the fourth industrial revolution is basically going to lead us into the technological singularity, where things are irreversibly changed. We basically enter into the post-human era, the transhuman era, where things are moving so fast you can't even comprehend. Just so you understand, when we're talking about technological singularity, we're talking about we can't even understand what it's going to be like because it's going to be so rapidly transformative. It's beyond your comprehension. So it's in comparison, it's like think of it in space. So we have three dimensions. There are three dimensions. You have a 1D, you have 0D, which is just a point, 1D, which is a line, 2D is like a square, 3D is a sphere, or a rectangular prism, or a cube, and fourth dimension would be a tesseract. Now, why did I bring a fourth dimension? Well, you can't possibly think of the fourth dimension. So, name me, there are three dimensions. Now, can somebody tell me how a fourth dimension would look like? What would fourth dimensional space look like? You have length, width, and height. Give me the fourth dimension. It's not time either. That's three-dimensional space with one dimension of time. Give me four-dimensional space. Somebody answering in the chat? Exactly. You can't think of the fourth dimension because you live in a three-dimensional world. Your brain can't possibly imagine a fourth dimension because you only live in a 3D world. It's like explaining a cube to a square in a 2D world that can only move up, down, left, and right. It can't move front to back. That's what fourth dimensional space is like. And that is an analogy to the technological singularity. The technological singularity is going to be so advanced, you can't comprehend what's going on. You can't imagine because you can't comprehend. Your brain is incapable of comprehending what's going on. The fourth dimension, they say, is strength, length, width, height, and strength. But what is strength? You don't know because it's the fourth dimension. We can only make mathematical estimations and try to draw it out. But we can't tell you what strength is because we don't live in a fourth dimensional world. We don't live in a fourth dimensional world that you can understand that. So that's why it's important to understand the magnitude of the situation. This is why I'm giving you all of these terms that some of y'all like technological singularity, transhumanism, artificial general intelligence, artificial superintelligence, artificial narrow general intelligence, diminishing laws of returns, nanotechnology, nanoengineering, material science. I'm giving you all of these terms because you need to understand fourth industrial revolution, emerging technologies, all of this stuff you need to understand. Okay, blockchain technologies, you need to robotics, all of this stuff you need to understand. And so before Ramoja speaks, I want to get into the emerging technologies. So some of the emerging technologies, according to CompITA, is artificial intelligence, 5G, the Internet of Things. So what is the Internet of Things? The Internet of Things is basically your brain becomes like a computer where you can get everything. Where literally instead of going on the internet, your brain is the internet. It's the Internet of Things. Literally everything in your brain is the internet. Serverless computing, being able to compute without servers, which relies to a certain degree on quantum computing, which y'all, quantum computing is one, unhackable, and two, is billions of times faster than the computing that we have right now. If you think a supercomputer can do a lot of computing power, a quantum computer can solve equations that would take a supercomputer 10,000 years to solve. Biometrics, of course, augmented reality, virtual reality, blockchain. Others include robotic natural language process, where you're able to transmit languages naturally through whatever you're able to easily translate languages. So that's what natural language processing is. And then, of course, I brought it earlier, dealing with serverless computing in relation to quantum computing. Others in agriculture, you're going to have agricultural robotics, closed ecological systems, cultured meat, vertical farming. For aerospace, you're going to have, hey, hold on, okay, yeah. For aerospace, you're going to have plasma propulsion and pole donation detonation engines. For construction, acrology, fourth dimensional printing, domed cities. For materials and textile sciences, you're going to have aerogel, amorphous metals, bioplastics, conductive polymers, graphene, lab on a chip, high temperature superconductivity, magnetic nanoparticles, magnetological fluids, microfluidics, high temperature superfluidity, metamaterials, metal foam, multifunction structures, quantum dots, programmable matter, nanomaterials, carbon nanotubes, silicene, superalloys, synthetic diamonds, time crystals, translucent concrete, 3D displays, volumetric displays, laser video displays, holography, optical transistors, screenless displays, virtual retinal displays, bionic contact lens, augmented reality, virtual reality, digital scent technologies, electronic nodes, e-textiles, flexible electronics, memristors, molecular electronics, nano electromechanical systems, solid state reformers, which deals with solid state physics, spintronics, thermocopper pillar bumps. These are just to name a few, and I got a lot more we can talk about. So just if those who want to come in can obviously come in if you want to speak on it. But oh well, Amuja left, so I'll continue to keep speaking. So we have Twistronics, 3D dimensional integrated circuits. Now, why am I giving you all of this stuff? We need to prepare for this stuff. We need to prepare for this stuff. We can't just sit back and not we have to prepare for this stuff. I understand underrated is it's like hurting your brain, but it's like this is what's in front of us. And are we gonna take the task or are we gonna back down?
And that's the point, Jabari. I think that's the point. Like that's what I kind of wanted to say. Like, you know how underrated say, you know, you talking about all this stuff. These are the conversations that we have that are the boring conversations. These are the conversations that we have that are the conversations that can get exhausting because you start seeing about how far behind we are. And it's funny how this is the topic because I was just talking to my family. We were just having a family conversation. And I was like, man, somebody has to get in technology. There's nobody. I was thinking about even I can't even think of anybody in my extended family who I'm like close to who's in tech. You know, I'm like the closest one. Me and my cousins being electricians, and I'm like, no, I'm talking about the people who actually like create and
Yeah, they're
design
the designers like comp
the
sci,
devices.
computer
the devices that
engineers.
I connect. Like I can do the
Mhm.
electricity stuff, but I don't
Yeah,
know how to.
you're not
So
an electrical
devices,
engineer. You're
you know what
not
I'm
an
saying? Like
electrical engineer.
we need people in tech, exactly. And I was telling my son like, no, all this stuff that you talking, we're not gonna do all this. I don't know what I want to do. It's like, no, you're gonna get in tech or you're gonna get a trade. Simple as that. Because all that other stuff is gonna disappear, y'all. All that other stuff, you can almost do anything you want from your phone. You don't got to go to a restaurant anymore. You don't got to go to a store anymore. Everything is automated.
Hmm.
Everything, and we
To
are
put
gonna
it
be
in
left behind.
perspective, to put it
We're
into
gonna be left
perspective,
behind.
to put it into perspective, emotion, what you're talking about, your phone has more technological computing power than what was used on the moon. Your phone has more. The phone that you carry in your pocket has more technology than what powered to the moon. That's how fast and small technologies become. Like I said, Umoja, when y'all was growing up, and those who were born in the 70s and 60s, when y'all was going to college, y'all used to have computers that were the whole room. It was literally
Literally,
big. It was the whole room.
literally, literally.
Now,
Oh, and then you could talk about the cell phones. Remember them car phones and big ass phones that they used to have in the movies? We pull up the antenna and stuff. Yeah,
yeah,
everything is crazy. Like even you even old enough, even though you
yeah,
still relatively
the
young.
flip
Don't
phone.
you remember seeing movies and stuff on Star Trek, or you'll see like sea dudes, people on sea dudes, and you would just look at it like this just a movie. Now you look at all the stuff from flip phones to holograms, like all of that stuff is a reality. All that stuff we be seeing on
And we
them like
used to have
war
flip phones.
movies
Like
and stuff.
I remember growing up, we used to have flip phones and Blackberries, and Blackberries used to be the thing. And now nobody even knows a Blackberry existed if you was not up there during that time. Flip phones used to be the thing back in the day, and now ain't no. What's a flip phone? Um, what else? Like you were saying with phones and movies. Look at Blockbuster. Blockbuster used to be the thing back in the day. The VCR, the DVD. Now nobody uses that anymore because it's not necessary. You can just watch it on Netflix or Hulu or Apple TV. You don't need it anymore. And that's what we mean by things are changing.
And Bari, I think a thing that we don't understand because we don't feel the effects because we don't dominate any industry is
Yep.
that certain industries have literally plummeted. Certain industries have become obsolete
Yes.
because of technology, and we don't understand it because we just say, oh yeah, I'm just going to stream from Hulu now, I'm going to go to Redbox or something like that, but we're not recognizing how these industries are being overthrown by technological advances and people
Yeah.
coming up with ideas to make life easier for us via technology. And if
And the
all
thing
we're
of
doing is being the consumers of this technology and never producing any of it, we're always
exactly.
going to end up in the rear and always coming up and saying, hey, please
And
come over
that's
here and
called
give us that technology instead of us being the creators of it.
you probably heard of the word. You probably heard of the word. Have you heard of the word called digital colonialism? Have you ever heard of the phrase called
I
digital?
absolutely have heard of that phrase, and I want to say something about that after you make your point. But I have heard of. I just heard of it recently. But go ahead.
Yeah, but that's basically what you're talking about being consumers. That's digital colonialism. You're consuming the product, you're consuming the technology, but you don't own it. So essentially, you're at the mercy of what
Right.
big corporations tell
And
you or what they want
this
you
is
to
the
see.
deal, Bari. This is the deal, though, Bari. We have to have it, y'all. Let me give you an example. Just like TikTok, right? I'm 39, so I'm like, when like certain stuff come out, I'm like, I don't want no damn TikTok. You know what I'm saying? That's for kids and everything else. You remember we had these conversations. You
Yeah,
get one, you get major views on it, so we like, okay, this is actually something that can be utilized for us to get the BIIO message out there and like get us more views, get people thinking about what our mission is. So it's like, no, we have to use this to engage with people. So you can't just be in the dark saying, I'm not going to use this technology. This is for the new school and blah, blah, blah. This is the devil, the mark of the beast. Okay, you're going to be
and
left
you're gonna
behind.
lose every
You're
time.
going to be left behind. You're going to be the beast. You're going to end
Hmm.
up being the beast, like
Yeah.
straight up. But what I wanted to say, this is something that I just learned a couple months ago. I was listening to a brother, and I can't think of his name, and I think I said this on a different stream too recently. But the brother blew my mind when he mentioned having talking about satellites being in orbit, like you having your own
Hmm.
satellite in orbit, and how he broke it down was that like everything, all information comes from a satellite. When you talk about
Exactly.
technology, I'm talking about from banking to your like, let's say, military information. So With that being said, now everybody listening to this, think about this. I want to say that he said there's like 4 or 5 countries with their own African, like built and ran, operated satellites in orbit. And I know Rwanda was one, and I want to say Uganda, and
It was
one.
Rwanda, South Africa, Egypt, Angola,
I
and
want to say
Nigeria.
Uganda, but
I
this
think
is the
Ghana you're
important,
talking about.
this is the important part about this though. If Jabari has a business, a home, banking, and everything, but he doesn't have the technology for a satellite, so he comes to Umoja and say, Umoja, I want to use your satellite technology to help my country. Guess what? Umoja has all of his information of that country though. Umoja has all of his banking information. Umoja have all of his military information. So if you letting another man, particularly a westernized country, have all this information at any point, they could put you in the dark ages. They could just cut off your information systems. This is
Yeah.
dangerous, y'all. This is dangerous. This is more dangerous than
What?
us saying, "Oh, China is trying to buy up Africa," or white people
Yeah.
still. This you them just having a satellite in orbit that they have control of all our information is far more dangerous
Oh
than that.
yeah. It's the reason why like people were like China looking real smart blocking YouTube and all these other social media apps since 2009 because everyone's learning to go to China route. When y'all was busy caping for Western governments, if they decide, we're gonna put sanctions on you and basically say, you know what, we're not gonna operate in your country anymore. Well, if you don't have your own version of YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, well, you're essentially cut off. I mean, you essentially have no other outlet. Whereas China was smart and said, listen, we're going to make our own technologies or copy Western technologies so we have our own. So if you want to kick, like most Chinese people don't use Facebook, most Chinese people don't use Twitter or YouTube. They don't have access. They don't care. They don't care about YouTube. They don't care about Facebook. And that's smart planning. But when you care so much about trying to get Western investment instead of saying cultivate your own indigenous technologies, you put yourself in a situation where not only you're vulnerable, but you're behind. I want y'all to understand the craziness of this. There's never been an African person sent to the Mariana Trench. There's never been a black person. I mean, with the exception of with Ronald McNair. That's why I mean, he was about to become I think like the first black man in space. But there was a black man, the Zambian man, who wanted to create a space program. Now, granted, he didn't have the infrastructure. Zambia just gained its independence. But how come there are no astronauts? Why didn't African nations say, you know what, let's take the inspiration of this Zambian man by the name of Edward Makuka uh, in Colosso, and basically said, we're going to be inspired by him and we're going to create our own space station. So 50, 60 years ago, we didn't have anything, but 50, 60 years now, we now have, our children now have, they're able to go into space now. They now have a Zambian version of NASA. They now have a Zambian, it's not there. Because we busy, like Omar said, we playing. That's playing right there. I don't think people understand. We got China and the United States and Russia, which I got great respect for China and Russia, but them three nations, as well, with the United States partnering with the EU, they're trying to go to Mars. We're not even talking about going to Mars. They talking about going to Mars. They talk about going to Titan. They talk about going to different solar systems, warp drive, speed of light travel, antimatter propulsion, and we talking about we was Kangs or we was Moors. Which by the
Exactly.
way,
Exactly.
you notice what I don't want to get into this real quick, but I just want to say they say they are Moors, but they can never tell you what empire it was. They never tell you what empire. They just say they're Moors. What empire though, bro? What was the name of the empire? You can't say it. Oh, right, right. And by the way, it was North African, not Sub-Saharan African. But okay. That's the thing that irks me is we're having debates on stuff that's not debatable.
Exactly. Exactly.
We're losing viewers.
This is but this is one of them, and seriously though, but underrated. You're making such a good point though, because if we was to come up here and just talk about Will Smith slapping people, or Rihanna being pregnant, or Jay-Z doing some coon stuff, and I'm just saying that I don't know what Jay-Z doing. I'm just making an example. we would have all the viewers, we would have all the support, we would have a popping channel. But that's not why we exist, man. We really are attempting to do something. And this is one of them conversations that needs to be had. And instead of appreciating it, seriously, it's like if it's not entertaining enough, people just disengage, man, and it's so frustrating. But this is what we deal with. This is why we gotta and this is actually goes to the point of the conversation. This is why we need to be on all these different platforms. This is why we need to be thinking of how can we
Right.
make creative, how can we create a creative application that's user friendly, that has, like, let's say tips and hints about how to save money to get to the continent, different facts about Africa to make it more attractive, like think just
Yeah.
more
Because
creative ways to engage people
realistically, nobody's gonna listen to an hour-long live stream on YouTube like what we're doing right now.
ever,
Nobody's gonna listen
ever.
to a hour-long. You better have that thing 3 minutes. And even on TikTok, what I try to do now is keep that jump down to a minute. Even I won't even go as far as trying to go
Bari,
30 minutes. When it's
I would
basic, I
appreciate
try to
that.
keep it to a minute.
Bari, I would appreciate that so I could duet it. Because sometimes I'll
Oh
be
yeah,
looking
that's what
like,
I've
dang,
done.
I can't duet it, man, because it's you
Yeah,
can
that's what
only
I'm about to say.
duet the one
That's what I'm
60
about to
seconds.
say. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
about to say that's why I try to keep it down now. If it's like facts about Liberia, I keep it down to a minute. So if I say, "Hey, yo, this is this," I keep it down to a minute, so people can, of course, duet it and people can sing it. But people are more willing to watch a 1 minute video. People are not going to sit and watch an hour long video because that's time consuming. I mean, that's dedication. That's people have to be committed to it. If they're not committed to it, they're not going to do it. I wouldn't do it too. I don't be the excuse me. The maximum video time I listen to is like 20, 30 minutes. I ain't listening to nothing for no 45 minutes to an hour.
I got a question for you, Jabari.
Mm-hmm.
So earlier in this stream, you were talking about the technical technology singularity of how, what will look like down the line when technology emerges with the human beings.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously a lot of people, I mean, the average person, they're going to freak out because they don't want to look like that. I mean, what do you say to that? Like when it
So
comes
what
to
what
how
I
we'll
would
look.
say is what I would say to that is think about determining what is your purpose in life and also determining, what do you want to accomplish in your life, right? Let's say that, you want, let's say your grandmother is dying, right? Let's say your grandmother is dying of a heart attack, right? But we
Mhm.
can save her by giving her this self-generating heart or this digital heart and she can live and she can continue to keep living. Do you say to your grandmother, let her die because I don't want that technology there? Or say, listen, um, she's gonna have an augmented heart, but she's still here, she's still living, she's still breathing, she got a conscience of her own. Which one do you take? And I understand it's scary because this is uncharted territory. But I would also like people to understand there were people during the first industrial revolution who thought the industrial revolution was going to destroy the world. There were people who thought the second industrial revolution was going
Mhm.
to destroy the world. People thought the digital technology, the digital revolution was going to ruin the world, ruin the economy. People were going to be left homeless. People were going to lose their jobs. And what are we doing right now? We're using everything those industrial revolutions created, and we found something new. It's adapting. We as humans underestimate how we are able to adapt to situations. And so, what I would say to people, it's okay to be fearful. It's uncharted territory. We've never been in this position, but think about the new opportunities that arises and the new meaning of a purpose. Imagine, underrated, that you know what you could live 100 to 200 years. Imagine what you could be doing for
I feel
100
like
200 years.
Jesus. Shit.
They already said right now that the people who are going to live 1,000 years are already alive. Imagine what you could do in 1,000 years. You could go to different planets. You could see different aspects that you ain't never seen before. Imagine being able to turn on lights with just a thought, saying turn off the lights and the lights turn off.
Oh shit.
Imagine being able to have your medicine delivered so that you ain't got to even go to the grocery store. I mean, you ain't got to go to the pharmacy. Imagine having a flying car where now you ain't got to drive on the interstate. You can just fly. You can just fly where you need to be.
I like the turn off the lights. Shout outs to the Big Booty
Imagine
Support
having
Group.
robots that can do everything for you. That can cook for you, that can clean for you, that can be your doctor, that can do whatever you need done.
I mean, would you want that though? Like, what if they don't season it right?
But they can learn from it because that's the point of artificial intelligence is to
Okay.
learn your
All right.
habits. It's to gather information. So they'll learn what kind of seasoning you like. And also, since they're a robot, they know every seasoning in the book.
True. Umoja protein shake.
Go ahead and put
Listen,
that protein.
them protein shakes gonna redefine your proteins in your body. It might create new DNA. You know, you never know. RNA.
They better put that right amount of protein.
Mm-hmm.
The fruits and berries and shit.
I mean, I want you guys to think about, understand, we have self-generating life right now. You can literally create life in a laboratory. They've done it. And I know this is going to be uncomfortable territory, but we got to talk about it. What happens when robots have their own children?
Oh my gosh.
Jabbar be throwing out some cold scenarios, don't he?
I'm being honest. What happens when we got cyborgs, people who are half human, half robot? They were born to a robot parent and a human parent. What are you gonna do? You gonna say that humanoid being is not a human because he's half human, half robot?
It's a new form of racism or roboticism.
And speaking of which, Umoja, we need to talk about this. Let me share my screen real quick. Look at this. To understand that this shows you right here. I want everybody to see this right now. It's a good thing you brought up this underrated, because I want you to see this.
Oh shit.
Read the headline. What does it say?
Black robots are impacted by racism? What? Man, fuck this.
I'm leaving the galaxy. I'm done. You can keep
the struggle don't stop.
You can keep Earth. You can keep Earth. Y'all can just have Earth. I'm done.
The struggle don't stop.
Even humans are likely to perceive anthropomorphic robots that have race, and they bring their race-related prejudices with them.
Hey, wait, hold on.
Yeah.
Oh shit. We're gonna
it says
have
right here. The study found. Look at this. Look at this. The study found that participants were faster to shoot an armed black human and robot than they were to shoot their white counterparts. The study subjects, the majority of whom identified as white, were also faster to refrain from shooting unarmed white humans and robots than unarmed black figures.
This is crazy. No. The struggle don't stop. This is deep. Oh man. Oh man.
Your robot counterpart it's still gonna deal with the racism. And that's why we need to get into technology.
Yeah.
To put it into perspective, most robots that are created are white because they're designed by who? White people.
White people.
Every robot that you see is practically white. There's a reason for it. Who's designing those robots?
White people. So it would seem scary because we're not the ones creating it.
Yeah, that's the point. And as a matter of fact, artificial intelligence can be racist. Artificial intelligence can be racist.
Right.
So AI can even deepen racial and economic prejudices. Mm-hmm. This is what we mean by black folks need to get in the game.
Game. Yeah. Okay. Yep. 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 Yeah.
We all thought, oh, a black robot ain't gonna get no discrimination. Wrong.
Hell wrong. That makes sense.
I think the gist of this, y'all, is that like it's been past time for us to stop just letting shit happen to us and start making shit happen. Because we just sit back and let everything happen to us. We just sit back and be reactionary. We get shot, then we march. You know what I'm saying? We grow up and then we see all these generations are not being self-sufficient, and then we start talking about how bad the education system is instead of educating our own kids via community education. We just keep letting shit happen to us and being caught up in the rear, and we get caught up in the storm. We can't escape it. We can't escape it. Everybody has cell phones. Everybody has push button coffee makers and fucking digital clocks and watches and everything. And then we act like it's like the devil, but we still using it. We still doing all this stuff. We still use Amazon. We don't care how many times they talk about how bad they treat their employees and how and all this. No, nigga, I'm out of right?
Exactly.
What are we gonna do? And then we'll wait until it goes off the Richter, and then we'll come up with something like We Buy Black. You know how they got the WeBuyBlack.com and stuff like that. Again, this is a great thing. However, it's reactionary. It's like, oh, look what they did. We should do something like this for black people, which makes it seem like it sounds good, but we need to always be thinking about how can we make things more manageable and more easy for our people. Not wait until we see somebody else do something and say, oh yeah, let's try to do this for black, and then get pissed off because all the black people going to the white service that was already there and that's already more efficient. You know, it's just time, y'all. It's just time. Even if we don't understand the stuff, we need to know some of it. Jabari, I gotta give you props because this man will make it seem like he is an expert at anything that we talking about because he fucking studies it though. He don't just come up here running his mouth. He actually studies it. Jabari ain't said nothing that he didn't sit down and read. And I guarantee you that everything he mentioned, he's read enough to answer any questions. Straight up. Am I lying, Bari? Am I lying?
Oh, no.
Seriously, I met this man. I sat with this man and asked him about his studying habits. This is what he does. This is his job, is studying. Straight up. And let's not waste it on just talking about bullshit. And again, we talk about bullshit, it's fun. We do all the time, I promise you, y'all. In our private chats and stuff, trust me, I'll be ready to leave the organization at least 3 times a month listening to these crazy people. But it's all in love, man, and this is important stuff.
And also, one of the things that we got to understand is you got to look at it. We obviously humans need to look towards cooperation, but at the same time, there is something called competition. Okay, think about it. There is an academic medal. There's an academic competition, right? You literally have an academic competition, but we are not in there. We're not even in the top of academic achievement. And in terms of education, we don't compete at this level. How do we compare to other countries around the globe? I mean, yeah, it's cute that we're doing great things, but how are we doing to the rest of the world?
All right.
Because Michael Ward said it's great that we're seeing black people succeed, but are black people winning against Japan in a competition? No. Are we beating Germany in a robotics competition? Are we beating countries in a engineering competition, an economic, a debate? Are we beating people? That's what you got. You got to look at. I'm looking to win. I'm not looking to lose.
Yeah. And I think too, like another thing that should be looked at with this technology, because we talked about it before, how the nation state, with Liberia, how that will be built a lot faster than how other colonies or, countries were built,
Oh
years,
yeah, we can
years
get it
back.
done faster, way faster.
Right.
And speaking of which, you need. This is why the nation state is so important. You need. And that's a true statement. What is your analysis on the recent research? 79% of U.S. jobs, which command 60K annually, require a BSSBA degree, while 76% of Black workforce do not yet have a 4-year degree. It shows you systematic racism. I mean, I can give you an example because like I got a bachelor's degree in engineering, and I'm graduating within the next 2 weeks. I mean, I'm set. I'm good. I can do what I want to do. I'm fine. If I choose to want to invest in the stock market or trading, I can do that. But that requires a bachelor's degree because things today are not driven by labor.
Mm.
That's what we need to understand. The economy is not driven by labor anymore.
Mhm.
And what I mean by labor, I'm not talking about labor in doing work. And when I mean by labor, I'm talking about manual labor.
Manual labor. Yeah.
The economy now is driven by what's called intangible assets, okay, or a knowledge-based economy. It's based on innovation. It's based on how educated is your population. This is the
Mm.
reason why losing an engineer or losing somebody with a degree is more significant than losing somebody who's, let's say, a machinist.
Machinist. Right.
Because although a machinist is very important, they get paid good money for a reason. You can train somebody to become a machinist.
Right.
An engineer, an economist, or somebody who has a 4 years degree, that took 4 years of training.
Yeah.
That took thousands of dollars of state money, depending on whether or not your thing pays for it or not. That's thousands of dollars to train these
Yeah.
people. Nigeria is an example. Nigeria loses billions of dollars of doctors that they trained. That's why the brain drain is such a more devastating impact than, let's say, Nigerian doctors leaving. Because granted, you have Nigerian doctors leaving, but you've spent billions of dollars training them. And so for them to leave, that's billions of dollars that's gone down the drain.
Mm.
Because you can always get people. One of the things about Africa and throughout the continent is not the fact that there's not enough doctors. It's there's not enough academic institutions to teach them and to
To teach
train them.
them. Mm.
So you have students who are being turned away because there's not enough space in these universities.
Yeah. There's no pipeline.
So you have a situation where the billions of people that you do, the billions of dollars that you spent training people, is gone completely to waste. That's why when what you're saying, Broody, is so important because when you don't have a 4-year degree, and most importantly, it's understandable why the vast majority of Black people don't have college degrees. Most people in America don't have college degrees. Only about a third to about less than half of the American population has college degrees. And that comes with a caveat because guess what? If you took out student loans, I mean, you spent $240,000 depending on if it's 60,000 a year. If it's like 30,000, you spend $120,000 over 4 years that you got to start paying off that debt with interest.
Mm-hmm.
So now you're perennially in debt. But with a nation state, and this goes to the nation state, we can adjust that. We can make college tuition free. The reason why I think black influencers, Broody, are saying it's a waste of time is because obviously sometimes looking for quick money, but think about it. If you're a black student and you don't get a scholarship, you got to take out student loans. And you got to ask yourself, Broody, yeah, I go to college and I get a $60K job, but I'm $200,000 in debt. So when I get out of college, I instantly got to start paying off that debt. And that doesn't include if you want to do other organizations, that doesn't include housing and all the other things. That's just tuition. That doesn't include room and board, food, things if you want to do. And so you got to ask yourself, is it really worth me going to college and getting in debt for the rest of my life? Or is it best for me to just say, you know what, I'm going to make do? Because I'm going to graduate debt free. I'm not going to have debt when I start the workforce. So I'm in a situation where I can instantly start accumulating wealth because I don't have debt. But for those who are not in my position, because for those who do not understand how lucky I am,
So, if we may
percentage of
get back,
students, the
go ahead.
percentage of students, I want to say this before you get back. The percentage of students who get a full ride scholarship. I got practically a full ride that covered my tuition, room, and board. Literally covered my tuition, room, and board. Literally, meal plan covered it. Guess the percentage of students that receive that kind of scholarship. Only 1.5% of students will receive a full ride scholarship. White students have a 14.2% chance of getting a scholarship, while
Dang.
minority students have 11.2% chance. So you're talking about a slim, I just happen to be fortunate enough to fit into that 1.5%.
Mm.
Right. You're right. And that's exactly the point, Ronan. Exactly. College would be a great asset if I'm not in debt. But if I have to be in debt for the next 15, 20, 25 years, is it really worth it? Because you know what that also assumes? That you have some sort of wealth already. And that also assumes that you have a job that gives you enough money so that you can start paying it off the next 15, 20, 25 years. What happens if you get a job that doesn't pay you enough, a living wage? And understand just how cruel the system is. If you die with debt, your debt gets transmitted to your children.
Oh, mama.
If your mama did not pay off her debt when she died, you have to pay off her debt.
Mm.
So think about it.
I need to call my mama.
You're gonna be put into debt that you may not be able to pay off, and your children might have to pay off your debt plus the debt that they may accumulate. Is it really worth it? That's why the nation state is so important. This is why we keep talking about the nation state is important, because we can keep trying to like Umoja said, try to finesse away in the system, but we live in the system, and the system's gonna find you. You can't hide in a system that the person that created the system. It's like saying it's gonna be you can hide in the maze. Well, I created the maze. I know the ins and out of the maze. I can find you in the maze or the
Can't
labyrinth.
can't hide from the Garden of Eden.
You
God
can't
going.
you can't hide or work around or beat somebody at their own game. Listen, and speaking of HBCU funding, we got to talk about the fact that you got an HBCU candidate, an HBCU president getting paid millions while people don't have money. Think about it. You have at Howard University the president getting paid a $1 million salary, and Howard students don't have housing. There are some Howard students who are literally homeless because they ain't got no money and they don't have any housing. That they were protesting. And this has been going on since 1986, before we were even born. When Umoja was a little child, this was still going on at Howard University. And you wonder why. And he said, "For the wages of sin is death, but the gift of God is eternal life in Jesus Christ our Lord." And that's where that comes from. I mean, think about it. If your life is in utter misery, I mean, that's all you got. You feel the pressure of possibly getting a second or third job to pay off school loans, and the debt trail goes. Having difficulty finding affordable living. Exactly.
Can I say something? Can I
Yeah,
say
go
something
ahead.
about this?
Go ahead.
So I think though too, the position that we've been in forever in the West is like a position of bondage, and I believe, and I know I ain't no belief to it. I know that that's led us to having a consciousness of like childhood, and
Yep.
that we always have to have an adult basically ruling over us. So we just don't see ourselves in position of power. So we don't ever think of that. But I want us to think about this. If you delve into the different sections of society and industry and you look at the advances that has been had, a huge percentage. I haven't did the research, but from what I just know on accident when I see new technologies, new things happening, a lot of things that's happening is really spearheaded by Black folks. A lot of it is a lot of the best in any industry. I'm talking about from medical doctors to psychiatrists. A lot of the advances and the new technology and ideas is coming from us. But what we're doing is thinking that we're big and bad because white folks is taking that and putting us on this pedestal in these specific fields. And what that does is that instead of us looking like, hey y'all, all of our geniuses is being used to make somebody else shit better. Instead of us thinking like that, we think clap, clap, clap. Yay, it's the first Black chairman of the National Society of Electricians. Clap, clap, clap. Clap, clap, clap. It's a
Exactly.
it's,
Exactly.
it's a
We
Black
view
neurosurgeon who just did something. It's like, no, dummy. We are the best. When we get in, we show our asses. Whatever
and here's the
whatever it is.
thing.
Once you let us in, we show that we are the best, no matter what obstacles are put in front of us. And instead of us saying, why are we still trying to be equal to some people who we're not equal to? Listen to me. Instead of us trying to saying, no, we're just gonna do our own thing. We can't get past that. That's where I just lose my entire mind when it
Mhm.
comes to
And
us.
let's
We
talk
are just
about and let's talk about. I'm gonna get to this question. We would be ahead of the game, and we would be prepared for any future attacks on us. We would be ready. We would be ready if we base it on future weapons, because that's what it is. Like I was watching a video, and I don't agree on his take on Ukraine and all that stuff. But one of the things he said, the days of the tank are over. The days of the tank are over. I mean, tanks are valuable, but they're no longer as valuable as what they used to be. The day of the tank is over. It's drones, it's cyber warfare, it's information warfare. It's no longer the tank. It's no longer that anymore. Radars. That's what it's going to be about. Computers. It's no longer going to be about space. It's no longer going to be a tank and all it is, it's not going to be that anymore. Having all them tanks is useless now. Doesn't really matter anymore. But to get to your point, back to your point, emotion about the first black this and the first black that, I've always got annoyed of that. I've always got annoyed of that because when you hear somebody say that, oh, he's the first black this, let's clap, clap, clap. You know that implies that we don't belong there. What you're basically saying is, congratulations, you finally got into the club. You finally reached a place in a high place. Congratulations. Not looking at it like, yo, why don't we come together and we create a version similar to that? We have the blueprint. Let's create a similar version and we can make it better. Being the first black this, being the first black that is not something to just cheer about. That's something we should expect. We should expect nuclear physicists. We should expect solid astrophysicists. We should expect bacteriologists and immunologists. We should expect that. What you are saying is when they become the first like this, you don't expect them. And you celebrate the first black this, but how many of them are black? I could care less about the first black this. I don't care. We need to have better expectations and better self-worth and say, you know what? I know what I'm capable of. You're not gonna mistreat me. You're not gonna abuse me. I mean, look at you guys may not be paying attention to what's going on in Starbucks. Look at what they're doing in Starbucks, right? Now the Starbucks workers are trying to unionize. Guess what Starbucks is trying to do? They're firing workers who are supporting unions. They're doing anti-union busting. They're in the middle of the former CEO came back and said Americans have the right not to form a union. This is what this man from Star doing everything he can to stop it. And you know what the Starbucks workers said? You ain't stopping us. They said you ain't stopping us. And that's what's got to be our mindset. You ain't stopping black folks. You not stopping us. Period. We know our self-worth. We know what we want. You're not stopping us. Obama's not going to help. Jim Clyburn's not going to help. Chantel Brown's not going to help. You could throw all about it. It's not changing our viewpoints. We stand where we stand. We don't care about being the first like this. I don't care. I know I can be a black mayor. I know I can be a black governor. I know I can be a black neurophysicist, a black neurosurgeon, a neurologist. I know I can be that. I don't need you to validate it for me. I know what I'm capable of doing. What I want is these demands and these policies. Right, of the conqueror or on his or her society. It isn't seen as an advancement to African diaspora society. It's not. It's never had and it never will be. But go ahead, the others. Give your 2 cents on it.
So I actually had a question, Jabari, to kind of circle back to this technological singularity. When because we can't I when I'm hearing 4D, I can't even imagine the shit. So down the line when we reach to, human super intelligence and the neuro AI neural intelligence, would that mean they would define what 4D is, or just the fact that we're here on Earth, we can't see it? Like,
it's the fact that our brains are unable to comprehend it. But if you have AI that's a billion times smarter than you, because AI can get billions of times smarter than you,
right?
Then what that means is they will be able to comprehend stuff that you can't comprehend.
Okay.
No offense, but I mean, not no offense, but in retrospect, right? It would be like it's me explaining how to do calculus to a gorilla or a dog.
Gorilla, right? That makes sense.
they can't comprehend it. A gorilla can't comprehend calculus. It can't comprehend linear algebra. It's not capable of doing that. It can understand how to do basic math like 2 plus 2 is 4, or one plus one is 2, or 2 plus 1 is 3.
Yeah.
But they're not capable of doing that advanced level math. It would be the same thing with artificial superintelligence. We are able to understand linear algebra, but we're not able to understand what AI is able to understand because it's billions of times smarter. So the
Smarter.
only way to understand would be to merge with them. And basically, we become one and the same. Humans and artificial intelligence are interchangeable. They're
Yeah.
one.
I wanted to answer Baruti's question
Go ahead,
with
brother.
he had asked, what do you think about a push for more blacks to earn valuable community college degrees? And CCs are cheap. What's the excuse? I think that's a great idea because with my experience, when I was a senior in high school, I got enrolled to a dual enrollment program. So although I was a high school student, I was also taking college classes, and that led me to get my schooling. That led me to go to my community college for free without having to pay anything. Now, granted, I didn't finish because other stuff, and I already didn't know what to do. But I think those are great stepping stones for generations to come, because they may not have a I guess they could specialize in something that doesn't take a long time. And also it's very important too, because we need, folks that are in HVAC, electricians and such, because when it comes to, infrastructure, those things matter. That helps contribute to building a nation state and stuff. And even to boil back to what Jabari was saying with the knowledge aspect, like we need folks that know, what they're doing. Like it shows the competency behind it.
Yeah.
So I think there
I think
has to be a huge push for those.
can I break down my educational experience, because my experience is like perfect for what Baruti's question is. Is that okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I'm
Cook.
sorry about the noise. I'm driving and this damn Bluetooth is acting stupid. So I'm on speaker. Sorry, y'all. But so I first when I first decided to go to college, I had nobody telling me what to do or anything, like no guidance. I was just like,
Mm,
okay, you're not stupid. You should go to school. I was like, I think, and I was actually working in the trades. I was in the labor union and didn't even know it. This is how green I was, like seriously. And
mm,
and I was like, I'm gonna go to school. What do I want to do? Literally, I thought, do I want to do journalism? Do I want to do engineering? Do I want to do computers? And my gullible ass was like, I want to help people. So I went and got into this counseling program. That shit was easy. I went and got the bachelor's in social work. That shit was easy. I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna just get my master's in social work. I'm gonna go and save the world, right? Getting all this liberal arts education and all this other stuff. Great. Got out, got a nice job, had a cool job. The last job I was working with all black people as a mental health therapist and a drug and alcohol counselor. Blah 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 blah. And then the Africa hit me. Africa hit me, and I was like, wait a minute. I want to go somewhere where I'm useful. Like I can go somewhere and be a teacher tomorrow. Cool,
mm.
right? Excellent, excellent. But I'm like, wait, but I actually want to be able to like, okay, well, let's actually upgrade the community. I want to build these homes. I want to know how to build it. Then I was like, wait, I want to learn how to actually bring electricity. So I want to be an electrician. So that's what I did. And guess what? I'm talking about I got into the union, and in 6 months, I'm not lying to y'all, in 6 months, I was getting paid more money than I was at my last job. And I had a good social work job. Let's not get it twisted. For social work, I actually had a good job. And I was getting
Well,
paid
social work is important.
my
Social work
my
is important.
my wage, my wage in the construction union was already at what I was getting paid at my highest social work paid job in 6 months, y'all. And it's cost me not a dime. I immediately start telling all my family, y'all need to stop playing, get into a trade, because this is not only is it more sustainable, it's important work for our future. We need to know we need to know how to build things. We can't be sitting up there always asking people for help, man. It's okay to ask for help, obviously, and then thank people for the help, no matter who it is. Like straight up, we have to open up our minds to that concept too. However, though, We need to be learning these trades and thinking about ourselves. All I'm thinking about is learning everything about construction and electricity so I could bring this knowledge to the continent. That's literally it. I'm not thinking and similar to you, Bari, I'm fine. I could go ahead and get my locks retwisted, sit back, have me a drink of something cold and smoke me some bomb ass weed and be great and say fuck y'all niggas. I promise. But that's not where my heart is. My heart is on my people. And that's what's so frustrating. You know what I'm saying? Straight up, that's what's so frustrating. We sit up here and do all this work. We don't just sit up here and talk. We actually be doing all this work, man, and people just seem like it's just gonna happen by osmosis. Like natural selection is gonna say, you know what? Niggas is actually kings and queens. They the ones built the pyramids. Let's just go ahead and give this back. That's not how life works, y'all. We have to be intentional. Very intentional. Good luck, nigga.
And to get to your point, in order to build a community, you got to have all the pieces together. And so that requires you to have people of different skills, meaning you need black people to be in different fields across the board. That's why for me, I advocate, and I've always been like, listen,
Jabari,
yeah,
you made me think of a joke. You made me think of a joke, right? I was
mhm,
thinking like all these youngsters want to grow up and be trap rappers and rap stars, right? And then you look at their videos when they're in the studio. It's always, well, it's not always, but a lot of the times it's a white boy engineer doing the music for them. It's like y'all want to be the rappers, but who's gonna create the music and do all this other stuff, right? Like it's more
mhm.
to this stuff. Like you want to be the
Right.
basketball player, but guess what? The general managers and the trainers and everything, they get paid very well too,
Yeah.
Yeah, because you that's the
and
thing
their
that we
job is
don't.
very important. Anybody, if you
That's why
talk
we
and can
don't look
dribble,
at
you
things
got a
as a
chance.
unit.
But everybody ain't going to get this education, man. Get the right education though, not just going to school and say, "Oh, I don't know what I'm gonna do," but everything's gonna be
Exactly.
fine because I got
And
this
that's what
bachelor's in liberal arts. Negative, man.
and that's why
Intentionality.
and that's why Umoja is so important because look at me, even as a civil engineer, there are different fields within civil engineering. So one of the first job opportunities or one of the first interviews that I had earlier this year was just for construction. The second one that I actually made it to the final round, but ideally it wasn't my type, and I didn't get it, but was environmental engineering wastewater. And then another one was dealing with steel. And another one dealt with, and the one that I'm working after grad is in transportation. The reason why I bring that up is because you need to have all of these different types of civil engineers. All civil engineers can't be structural engineers. All civils can't be all civils can't be transportation engineers. You need civil engineers to be environmental engineers, structural engineers, material engineers, geotechnical engineers, construction engineers. You need construction managers and construction management. You need all these different pieces together. Like you said, Umoja, you need the rapper, but you need the person who designs the music. You need the person who owns the studio. You need the person who has the props. Everything comes together. It's like what Hollop said earlier about movies, right? The director writes the movie, but the director needs actors, it needs cameramen, it needs all of this for the movie to come together. It's not just one aspect.
Yeah. Like, because going back to Baruti's question, if everything was together, like if I could do it all over again and I knew what I was heading into within a community college, definitely would have did me some justice. But the fact that, as Mo just saying, they just tell us to go and there's no direction or there was no guidance as to what it is that
Mm,
I like to do, that's where
yeah.
those kind of pieces of, everything has to come together. Because you look at other school systems, like I always admire Finland because I've always wondered why are they happy? Why are they the number one in, sciences and mathematics? Is because they have a system where not only it allows kids to be kids, but it also promotes them to go for what it is that they're passionate about. And so at an early age, they're figuring out, okay, this is what I want to do. And they already have the tools for them to get to where they need to be.
Mm-hmm. I'll answer
But
Baruti's question, and I'll get to Baruti's questions, but I want to address your point. That's why, to a certain degree, why I was able to get my scholarship, because I knew what I wanted to do. I
right.
knew when I was in 8th grade. It started 8th grade. My path was crazy. Like I told people, my path was crazy. My path was crazy. At first, I wanted to be a cardiovascular surgeon. I wanted to be a doctor. I was going to be a cardiovascular surgeon.
Oh, wow.
Then in about sophomore year, when I was doing financial literacy, it changed to I want to be in the economics field. So I want to be an accountant, an economist. I wanted to do that
Yeah.
kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Then, because I was doing FBLA and I made it to nationals, and I'm like, my career is probably going to be in the business realm.
Mm-hmm.
Then I realized I wanted to do infrastructure senior year, and that's when I realized senior year I wanted to be a civil engineer. And so I was like, let me do civil engineering. And to address Baruti's point about the community college and then the as opposed to, the reason why people don't go to community college is the stigma of community colleges. Think about it. Community colleges are not seen as prestigious as the big state schools or Harvard or the Ivy Leagues. I want to think about it. Even in the Black community, and I would say I'm kind of guilty about this, but it's the truth, right? Look at the HBCU realms, right? When you think of the top HBCUs, what comes to your mind? When somebody says HBCUs, name HBCUs schools, what schools come to mind? Y'all can name it off the top of your head. What comes to your mind when y'all think of HBCUs? Name at least 3 or 4 of them.
Well, here for me, Clark, Atlanta, Spelman, and Morehouse. That was about it. Oh, and Howard. That's it.
Exactly. Exactly. When you think of the top HBCUs, or when you think of HBCUs, I want to go to Howard. I want to go to Hampton. I want to go to A&T. I want to go to Spelman, Morehouse, Clark, Atlanta. You never hear somebody say, I want to go to Savannah State. I want to go to Norfolk State. I want to go to Virginia State. I want to go to Fayetteville. You don't hear them say that because going to it's being associated with that prestigious school. Because if you graduate from A&T like me, like I'm about to, when you graduate from A&T, people look at you.
Mm-hmm.
People are like, oh, he graduated from A&T.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And he an engineer. Okay. He graduated from A&T. We see you, Aggie Pride. But as you said, I graduated from South Carolina State or Savannah State, they're gonna be like,
The fuck?
okay. They're like, okay, you graduated from Savannah State. Okay. You got some good credentials. But they're not gonna be like, oh, you graduated from A&T. Oh, you graduated from Howard. You graduated from Hampton. Or like Brody said, oh, you graduated from FAMU. Oh, when you bring up those big schools, people look at you. And that's why a lot of people don't maybe want to go to community college, because there is a brand associated with going to big universities. It's like
Mm-hmm.
it's a brand associated if you go to Cornell, if you go to Howard, if you go to Princeton. Then if you were to say I went to Guilford Tech, well, I went to Guilford College. There's a different thing to it. There's a different people have that. It does matter where you go to college. And so that's why some people want to go for these major schools instead of community colleges. But to go to Baruti's point about why do people do communications and sociology as opposed to STEM is because in order to do STEM, you got to have the resources and the financial support. What do I mean by you got to have the support? One of the reasons why there's not a lot of Black physicists is they don't have the support. And they've done research on this. I can attest to this personally. Right now, I was doing a minor in physics. I was doing a minor in physics right now. And I was struggling in the class, and I still am. I was getting bad grade out of bad grade. And I emailed my professor and said, listen, I'm about to drop out. I'm about to withdraw from this class. This ain't worth it. I'm not going to keep stressing. I'm not going to do this, and I'm not getting the results. Then he said, he said, you're not going to quit on me. And he said, that's a fixed mentality. That's not a growth mentality. Show me growth. You're not going to be good at it just by not working it. You have to work at it. And Lord and behold, when I took this second retest, I did better than on my first test, but I could have gotten even higher if I would have had instilled more confidence based on the studying that I had done earlier that he told me that I needed to do. I could have upgraded tremendously on the second exam that I just took. And I'm upset because I could have actually gotten a higher grade, significantly higher than I did the first time around. But it was that support that I had. If I didn't have that support and him encouraging me to keep pushing, to keep going, I would have just withdrawn and would have called it a day. And said, listen, forget my physics minor. You need that support system. If it's not there, then a lot of Black students are going to withdraw. Think about it. If you are going to a PWI as a Black student and you major in nuclear physics or you major in material science and engineering and you look into your classroom and literally you are one of 2 Black people in that class.
Shout outs to Ronan. I didn't know if you were just in here, but
Yeah, I'm here.
Anything you want to say real quick?
Need my money.
What's up, underrated Mojo Jabari?
It's good.
What you were saying about the support part, that's a huge thing. Even, you talk about your professor, he backed you up, said, not to give up on what you're trying to do with physics. Also within the family structure as well. I was an athlete. I played football, basketball, baseball, stuff like that. But I wanted to go to school. Also, was very interested in marine biology, paleontology, stuff like that. But did not get that support. Not on purpose, but it wasn't really looked at. People look at me. They were looking at me as an athlete first, and not as someone who's interested in marine biology and stuff like that. So support with education also has to be within the family structure as well. If you have kids going forward, we got kids, they want to do engineering, stuff like that, just support it. My generation, that was not supported. You just like, oh, that's nerd stuff, oh, that's egghead stuff. And you look at where we are right now, you were discussing earlier about transhumanism, and technology within advancements within the Black community. You see, like I think Brody put that up there about like communication sociology. People are taking these courses. It may be an easier pathway to a degree, but it's taking these courses because Black folks here in this country want to be the moral center for the United States and not worrying about being a moral center or being a protector for Black people on a worldwide basis.
Mm-hmm.
And also to add to your point about support, you need that support early on because in order to become in order to be admitted into the College of Engineering or the College of STEM, you can't have poor math scores. Like when I applied for the SAT, when I applied for the College of Engineering, I had to have above a 580 in order to be an engineer. And the first time that I did it, I got a 520, which meant that I wouldn't have been able to be an engineer based on an 1120 SAT 1120 SAT score and a 520 math score. The second time, I think it was the second or third time. I think it was the second time. The second time I took it, I got like a 630. So I got a 1220. So I got a 630 and a 580. Well, I think no 590 and a 630. So that 630 allowed for me to get into the College of Engineering and allowed for me to be into the honors program plus my GPA. But if you don't have that already being ingrained in your children early, then it's going to be a problem. Like in Black households, teaching calculus should not be seen as something nerdy or seen something too hard. Teaching differential equations, teaching linear algebra, teaching astronomy, it should not be something deemed as not Black or not Black excellence.
I agree.
You should teach your kids, yes. You should be interested in calculus. You should be interested in the sciences. You should be interested in geology and marine biology and paleontology. in archaeology?
Well, the whole thing though about that though is literally just having discussions. It's not hard.
Exactly.
It's literally not hard. Like, I bullshit you not, man. Sometimes I be amazed at the stuff that my kids will talk to me about just because I talk to them. Like, it ain't no, like, I'm just straight up. Straight. Everybody don't know about me, but I got 5 kids. My oldest 17, my youngest is 1. Right. And the 17 and 16-year olds, these people be talking to me about some stuff. Sometimes I be telling my daughter TMI, too much information. Like, like straight up, like, calm down. Not in a like really serious way, but yeah, it's really a thing just about talking, man.
Mhm.
That's something that us as black people, I believe that we have an issue with in general, is just communicating. Our communication, when it's time to really have those serious and a real conversation, it either comes out as comedy, we like joke it off as comedy, or we get mad and just explode. You know what
And
I'm saying?
also,
It's never just let's talk this shit through. Let's actually talk, not try to see who dick the biggest. You know what I'm saying?
Oh
Or
shit.
see who's the smartest. You know what I'm saying? So,
and
you know what I'm
here's
saying? Just like
and
talking
here's
out
the
of ego
thing.
and see who knows the
What?
best. I'm smarter than
Yeah,
you,
and here's
and
something
you never read this book. You never seen this. Like, no, bro. Let's talk.
we can all learn
Let's
from each
talk.
other.
Let's just talk. But seriously, talking to your kids about it. You ain't even got to talk about trigonometry and calculus. You could explain them the idea of formulas. You could just talk about formulas
And here's the thing. And here's the
and
thing I
get
would
them to
also
think
add.
about
And
it,
here's the thing
right?
I would also add.
It's just not that hard, man. We make this stuff so hard when it comes to us.
Exactly.
We
Oh.
make it easy when it comes to everybody else. We'll work with a damn Asian midget. We'll work with an Asian midget, man, and
Oh
that'll be
my,
our best friend.
What?
That'll
oh
be,
my God, he
listen
about
to
to
me,
get us. He
y'all.
about to get us shadow banned over YouTube.
Listen to
He
me, y'all.
about to get us.
Listen to me, y'all. And that'll be our best friend. That'll be our best friend. It'll be a brother or sister that'll come into the job that look exactly like us, and that'll be our enemy. We'll feel it'll be an automatic tension for
Mhm.
no reason. And
And
y'all
I
know
want
I'm
to
telling
add
you
this.
too.
And I want
And
to
this
add
is
this
what I'm
real
talking
quick.
about. Communicate.
And this is what I want to add to about Emoja's point. You need to expose your kids to everything. You don't need to expose your kid to just one thing. It's the same thing what we do in sports. We expose our kids to primarily basketball, football, some play baseball and that stuff. We or run track. We don't expose our kids to everything. Like, yeah, son, you don't just have to be a basketball player or a football player. You could play volleyball. You could do archery. You could do soccer. You could do whatever sport you want to do. You can swim. We need to teach our kids how to expose them to different things and not let them concentrate on being just basketball and football, because that's one of the things that I regret now. Looking back, I'm like, man, I should have probably done soccer or football. I probably should have done archery. I could have been better at volleyball or soccer, but I never tried because I was so focused on basketball, so focused on one thing instead of saying, you know what? Let me choose. Let me see all these sports. Let me play them. Let's get access to them and see what they like. See what they are good at. See what they excel in. Imagine if Serena never had gotten access to a tennis court. Imagine if they told her you had to play basketball instead of playing tennis. What would have been Serena Williams? Think that's what we need to think about.
She would have been the first woman to dunk in the NBA.
Richard.
Man,
She would have been the Michael Jordan of the WNBA.
So we got 2 questions in the chat. One from Black meaning African. He says, "What do the statistics show Black students enrolling in science and engineering fields? Is it lack or support, or is it Black folks just going for the easy degrees?"
I would say I'm gonna lean more on the lack of support than I say easy degrees, because truth of the matter is, most people in America get easy degrees. The largest degree in America is in business. Like, business is the most common degree. Engineering is a small percentage. We're talking about just so you understand, a percentage of college students, percentage of college graduates who with a STEM degree, that only amounts to about So 14% of the 50 million college graduates age 15 to 26, only 14 work in STEM, in a STEM occupation. Only 14%. Even though 30% said that they had a degree in science or engineering, only 14% of them worked in STEM. Only 14%. We're not talking about, and if we're talking about engineers, because you got to understand, STEM means basically science, technology, and engineering. If we want to talk about the percentage of people with an engineering degree, we're talking about 6% of all college graduates have an engineering degree.
Damn.
That's across the entire board, including Black, white, Asian, Hispanic. 6% have a engineering degree. Social
Damn.
sciences, in comparison, 19% have a business degree, 12% have health professions and related science. That's 12%. Social sciences and history, that's 8%. Engineering, 6%. That's what we're not talking about a gigantic engineering population of graduates. So 6% are graduating. That only amounts to 126,000.
You know what you just did? Do you know what you just did, though, Bari? You just broke down how like you could take a statistic about black people and try to and make it seem like no, black people are lacking, and it's like no, in engineering it's only 6% in general. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But what you also did too is note that there's a section in education that black people can dominate, and guess where it's at? Ding 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 ding, engineering. How about that?
There's a
See,
need.
but we have to be thinking like
And
this.
think about it. And
We
I
have to be
want you to
thinking
think
like
about it.
this.
And think about it.
We have to be thinking like this. So
Yeah,
who's
and
having
let's
that
break it
conversation?
down. And let's break it down even more. Let's break it down even further of the 6% that do have engineering degrees, right? That graduate with engineering. 71% of engineers are white. 14%
That's
of
true.
engineers are Asian. 8% are Hispanic and Latino. 3.3% are Black or African American. Now, I want people to understand this. Hispanic and African Americans have about the same population. If you compare the Hispanic and Latino population and the Black population, we are basically at similar percentages. 15%, like 15% to maybe 17, 18%. Okay. The Hispanic population has double the amount of engineers that we have. Of course, they have different circumstances, of course. But the point of the matter is if 6% of them are engineers and 71% are white, I want you and I want you to understand just how bad this is. The Hedginger report, I just looked it up. Colleges now produce fewer black students in the STEM field. Think about it. It says this: the number of black students who are graduating in STEM has declined from 2001. I mean, from it was 2001 is less than what it was in 2001.
And
So
yo,
in 2001,
this is not progress. Jabari, can you please post that in one of our
yes,
chats,
yes.
please? Because this is
It
not
says right
progress.
here. It
I'll talk
says
to y'all later. Love y'all.
the proportion of bachelor's degrees in science awarded to black graduates remained flat about 9% from 2001 to 2016. So for 15 years, it stayed straight flat. We're either going flat or we're falling. Look at this. Let me show you this. Let's go even further. In engineering, it has declined from 5% to 4%. And in math, it dropped from 7% to 4%. So, like Umoja said, we're going in the opposite direction. We're not making progress. We are actually declining based on the percentage. Black doctors, the number of black doctors as a percentage of the entire American population has remained the same for the last 100 years. We have not, the amount of doctors as a percentage of the American population was the exact same as it was in 1920.
That is crazy.
It's depressing.
That is crazy.
But we think we're making progress because we got one or two black people who make it up in the high places. I hate this black faces in high places mentality. This black faces in high places mentality has got to go.
You're right. I agree. You're absolutely correct about that, Jabari. Because if you're looking at that, you look at the numbers are decreasing, you're going to decrease into obscurity. You know, black folks who are here, or better understand that it's not white folks' job to take care of you. They don't care about you, and steps need to be taken to where we have to have our own space, so we can reverse these numbers and advance and continue to grow. China is getting to the point where they're lapping people. With
I want you
technology base. With
I want you to
technology.
understand. I want you to understand this, right? To understand how few black college graduates, engineers, but graduate. So there are approximately number of black graduates, right? So, and this is crazy. This is what you're talking about. We're failing. The number of black college graduates continues to be on a rise, but the number of black engineers in STEM are declining. That's a problem. So, how many black people graduate in a year? So, we're talking about maybe about, I'd say 100,000, 120,000, 125,000 are graduating per year. We're going to say about 125,000 are graduating, black graduates graduate per year. In the engineering alone, the number of black engineers, currently about 6,000 black engineers graduate. That means out of all the black graduates, the hundreds of over 100,000 black graduates that are graduating, only 6,000 of them are in the engineering field.
That's disturbing. Well, you're right about that. I mean, I work for an engineering firm, and I can tell you.
You can count the black folks on your finger.
Yeah, my office alone, in both offices, I work out of two offices here in Jersey. In South Jersey, in Lawrenceville, you got me, the idiot I work with. African American sister, one of my brothers in there. That's four. There's a couple who are off. One is he's Ethiopian. He's not in the office a lot. That's five. There's another one. He's from the Caribbean. That's six. And then the other office in North Jersey.
You can literally.
I've only seen one. So what I've seen seven total.
Yo,
like I said, you can count on your finger. I remember taking a tour. I remember this. I took a couple tours because as an intern, I was coming in getting me a job, and I went to one of the locations. Right. I kid you not. I walked up in that thing. There was not a single black person there. Maybe one, but there was not a single black person up in that room, up in them headquarters. And so if I had chosen to work in that, if I would have gotten the job opportunity or the job offer, I would have been the only black person there. So that's that's putting stress on us because all the black engineers, happy birthday, holla. You want me to sing happy birthday to you again? I know you ain't got birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday.
I need my money since you bet on the Nets, but yeah.
Thank you guys. Thank you. Thank you.
Baby.
he ain't forget to talk about nationhood. He ain't forget about.
I had to come in. Because what y'all was beaming to say something after all this information. Yo, what's up, Ron?
What's up, Hollow?
Yeah, man. I wish you was with me today, man. It's such a shame you live so far from me.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll hook up. I just
Yeah.
gotta say this. Just give me a moment to rock with this.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Black folks keep talking about, like I see a lot of black people that's not nationalists, who it's FBA and ADOS and all of these other configurations, whatever they want to call themselves, and everybody says the same thing. We need more black doctors. You know what my question is? Why do we need more black doctors? For what? Because you don't believe in having black hospitals. You don't believe in a black you don't believe in us controlling it. So what are we producing black doctors for? Shouldn't there be a
Fake
reason and a
representation.
purpose? And because there's no purpose for producing them, do you think that has something to do with the fact that we don't?
And the
Maybe if
numbers
we
are
had our own black
declining.
medical system, maybe if we had our own black hospitals, then we would produce more black doctors.
So you
Maybe if
putting
we
the
were
cart before
actually
the
building
horse, Hollow.
something, we would have more architects and engineers. If we were actually in charge of something. So all of these people who claim that they want all this black professionalism, I always ask them, why? Why do you want it? So you can help power up white people's system?
That's what
So
they
you can
want.
make it more efficient? So you can so you can have involvement and participation in their structure?
That's what it's all about. It's always been about
Holla,
that, as far
holla,
as I'm
like and
concerned.
holla. And I know you probably didn't catch the other early information that I brought up earlier about
No, I
the
caught everything.
oh
I was
yeah,
listening to
but
everything.
it's just the fact that, like I said, the fact that if I had chosen the job, even the job that I'm working, although it's going to be it's still in the South in Atlanta, I'm probably going to be the only black person in that space. And so what does that do to the black engineers and the black professionals? It puts stress on us, because what you're doing to us now is we have to be the burden for everything. So I remember when the George Floyd situation was happening, and you have a situation where you got black folks begging for black psychiatrists. Well, since we don't, like you said, we don't have anything of our own, black psychiatrists are now overwhelmed because all of these black people are coming to us, but we have so few of them that we now have to put stress on ourselves to make sure that they meet your needs. And then we got to worry about going into our workplaces because we're the only black person there. So we got to put on a mask and hide what we truly believe. Because Ronan can attest to this, about how you got some black folks who really about it, but because we got to go up in a hostile space, we got to straighten up our hair. We got to cut our hair. We have to do all of this stuff to appear palpable, even though we know we don't want to do it, and we're going to be stressed.
Yo, I got to break out, but I want to throw y'all alley oop. Just allow me to say this.
Peace, brother.
If identity politics in America makes no fucking sense, it makes no sense. What should happen is, if you don't believe that we should have a nation of our own, then what you should be is an American. Everybody living in America should consider themselves an American. Fuck where you came from. Fuck all of this. I'm a something of descent. Who gives a shit? This is where you live. So it makes no sense. It's like you talking out of both sides of your mouth. What, on one hand, you want to be a nationalist, and then on the other hand, you don't want to be. You want to be American, then you don't want to be American. Which one is it? That's the thing that bothers me, is the inconsistency. Why is Deontay calling me? He must not be listening to the show.
He was trying to get in previously, but I think,
Yeah, something wrong with his connection.
Yeah,
Oh,
but what I'm
okay.
saying is basically the reason why identity politics makes absolutely no sense, because if you want to be an American, if that's what you define yourself as, then what you should be doing is trying to bring this country together, where everybody who's living in America, forget where you came from, forget you being Italian and Chinese or whatever, you're just American, and you rally around that, because you cannot have a country based on everybody just doing their own thing.
Holla, before you go, you alley-oop it, and I'm about to finish it. Ain't that the exact same thing that white people tell black people whenever we say, if we go into a neighborhood and we see too many American flags, we know that's not the right place? How many times do you hear white people say, aren't you American first? Aren't you
Right.
an American? They real quick to tell you that.
Right. But see, this is the problem, Jabari. We got a bunch of mouth breathers talking for us. These people, these woke people that's interacting with white people, they don't represent us.
No.
So I can totally understand why, as a white person, would be fucking confused. It's like, well, wait a minute. I thought you wanted to be an American, but then when we say this is American, you're like, well, I don't want nothing to do with America. Well, which one is it? See, we're consistent.
Yep.
We're consistent. We want our nation of our own. We want to control. We want social, economic, and political control of our environment. We want to control a piece of territory. We want to have our own hospitals. We want to have our own police. We want to produce our own weapons. We want to do everything for ourselves from top to bottom. We are consistent. These woke people are inconsistent. That's why we call them militant integrationists. That's why we call them Black Power Americans. They're talking out of both sides of their mouth, and white people are confused, as they should be. They should be confused. Hey, I'm trying to be your ally. No, I don't want you. You white. Well, which one is it, nigga? What are you trying to do? Are you trying to get something of your own, or are you trying to participate in our system? And all I can say is, I think everybody on this phone agrees, Liberia is our nation state.
Period. In the discussion,
Period.
there's no comp.
And on that note, love you all. I gotta
Have
break
a great
out.
birthday. Have a great birthday,
Thank you.
brother. We about to finish
All
in
right,
the next
peace,
10
brother,
minutes.
man. Love you, man.
Peace. Love you
We
too.
about to finish it in the next 5 minutes, but peace, brother. Have a great birthday. Yeah, it's just it's the same thing like you said. You said we need more black doctors because we can't trust these quote unquote we can't trust white doctors. Well, okay. Well, are you going to create black hospitals? Are you going to create like so you want a black? You say we are a black nation, but you don't want to actually be a nation. It's you said it's double talk.
You know what? This is just, I'm just thinking about when you said that they want this black doctor stuff like that. It's all like
It's faux
it's
nationalism.
convenient.
It's faux
It's
nationalism.
event convenience. It's like whatever the event is, or an unfortunate event, like with George Floyd, stuff like that. It's convenient to be pro-black, black, black. It's black this, black that, black this, black this, and then once that 28-day period's over, it's back to business as usual.
Ronan, remember the article that I talked about the black people who said they were tired of America, but instead of going to Africa, where do they go?
What they was trying to build that town in Georgia or something like that? Is
No,
that the one you're talking about?
they left the United States, and where do they go when they leave the United States? Where do they go?
Costa Rica.
Exactly. So you go to Costa Rica, you go to France, you go to Belgium, you go all these other places, and then be like, oh wow, there's racism there. What?
But they're not aware of that. This is a common thing, man.
What did you think? Do you not pay attention to European politics?
But that's just it. When Jabari, you looking at it from we all looking from the same aspect. Like we're looking at it from an international sense. We're talking about international issues, having a nation state, doing business with other countries and stuff like that. So we're looking from an international sense, and we know what's going on internationally. You got folks here who they're basically shut in. They don't even their borders don't expand outside the United States. And when they go somewhere else, like, oh my God, I can't believe they're treating black folks like this.
And the thing about it is crazy, Ronan, is that these are the same people who are like, wow, so black people will never find racial refuge unless we are the majority. No dip. I saw that. I read that comment. I was just like, wow, what do you think? And then they were just like, well, even South Africa and Brazil, that's not guaranteed. And I said, well, first of all, South Africa and Brazil are two different stories. One, South Africa had apartheid. Most of the African continent didn't have an apartheid-like system. And apartheid just ended about 30 years ago. So that's one thing. Number two is Brazil didn't have Jim Crow. So a lot of black Brazilians believed in that racial democracy because they didn't go through Jim Crow. So the racial consciousness that developed in other parts of Latin America and in the United States didn't happen in Brazil because there was no Jim Crow. If Brazil had an apartheid Jim Crow-like system, black Brazilians would be completely different right now. But they didn't have, so you're bringing up two countries that have different circumstances that led to why they are. And actually, Brazilians now are identifying themselves more as black than ever before. So again, you're not going to find racial refuge in a country that you're not the majority in. Period. What did we learn underrated just now about Patrick Lyoya? What happened?
What happened? The Congolese man got shot, and his dad was like, "I can't believe this actually what happened."
Oh yeah.
And African Americans are all looking like, "Bruh, you in America? Did you not? Are you aware of America?"
Yeah.
But once again, it all comes down to being aware, and it also comes down to understanding your environment. You come from the Congo, okay? You live in a black majority country, practically an all black country. You don't deal with racism. That's not even a thought that comes to you. This is why when I watch one of that TikTok videos, I agree with what he said. He said, Black immigrants don't come to the United States on this mess of, in my country, we don't see race. You are the majority, fool. You live in an all Black country. Of course, you don't care about race. It doesn't affect you. But when Black immigrants get over here and they have children, they children learn real quick. Oh yeah, this country racist. Oh yeah, you better not come on here with that mess. You better not. But we're gonna wrap it up, and because they're about approaching the 2 hour mark. Underrated. Anything else you want to say?
There was a point that you made, Jabari. I think it was in our Discord or so, or it was probably another live stream. Going back to the main topic, when I was thinking about having a family at some point, I was anti technology at first because of, what everybody else was thinking. Like, oh, there's so many gadgets and stuff. It's like, let the kids be the kids. Woo, woo, woo. But then when you have brought up that if they don't learn how to use a device, because that the future's already here, like technology, it's here, and then it's irreversible. That's where it's going to go. If they don't know how to learn how to use those devices, and more to come, then they'll be so far behind, when it comes within education, because by that time there's going to be a new way of learning and a new way of, going about things. When it comes to jobs and opportunities, they'll be so far behind because I've held them back from, technology. And so when we go back to this technological singularity thing, yeah, it is a huge deal, and it has to be something to be talked about, because this is a point for us to really accelerate and do better, within our community and such. But yeah, that's all I have to say.
Yeah, and obviously join us at the lounge today around 8:30, 9 o'clock. We'll be there. But yeah, just to elaborate on this point and how everything we said gets back to what we're talking about. People got to understand we have to control our destiny so we can plan for this accordingly. A lot of this stuff is going to be dictated by government policy. How we choose those government policies in our nation is going to determine whether or not we are going to be ahead or we're going to be behind. We need to stop playing that technology is not going to be rapidly changing and it's going to rapidly alter our lives. It is. We need to be prepared for it. We should want it to happen. We should be at the forefront of it, and we should not be resistant to it. Technology don't care about you, whether or not you like it or not. You gotta adapt to it. And I want to be the person who's enjoying this fourth industrial revolution, joining that Internet of Things, joining that virtual and augmented reality, all of those spintronics. I want all of it. Okay. And it's time for us to be at the forefront. But like Holub said, if you ain't building a nation, why are we creating all these Black people to go into a field that they're very small in? They're going to accumulate debt that's going to possibly transfer to their children. Maybe if you gave them a system that fed and constantly nurtured this mindset, we would succeed. And the only way we can do that is in Liberia. So with that, y'all, thank y'all for tuning in. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Sign up to the website at baioafricstan.org/register. And last word from Holub said,
When we went from analog to digital, everyone adapted no matter what their belief system was. And we can even learn that from some of our immediate family. So remember, either you catch up to technology or technology will catch up with you. Peace, fam.